Hello guys. So here we are here today with you to discuss how your JEE means paper, has been going. And we have been getting some calls from students regarding how the paper went. So I also want to talk a bit about how the morning shift was, because you're still getting questions from your evening shift right now. So I think nothing out of the ordinary or nothing unexpected has come out of these papers. Your paper pattern has been similar to what you have been doing so far, your PYQs as such, right? So from a physics perspective, I think one of the worries which we had is, can we get out of topic questions? And from what I've seen so far, nothing has been out of topics. Everything has been within the syllabus, and everything has been within, I would say a slightly easier level compared to previous years as well, right? But let's also hear from your maths and chemistry teachers. Dhruv sir, Bharat sir.
Hi. So yeah, I think chemistry also pretty much the same. Very stock standard questions. One questions from POC, two questions from coordinate. One question which is asking about the shape, which is pretty much every single year that question is there. The other one are asking about paramagnetic behavior. So more tricky questions about um, colors and configurations are not there. So pretty direct questions from even coordinate. Then one question on isomerism, which is like, so most of the questions that we have are pretty direct. Um, uh, yeah, the one thing is in paper one, like we had one question from POC, two questions from more concept of. Another thing is physical also. All the questions were pretty straightforward. There was no question from whatever we have received, no question from like difficult topics like ionic, electrochemistry, physical questions. Two questions are from mole concept. In one question they have included organic and mole concept. um, so yeah, one question, another organic question from carbonyl, which is directly carboxylic acid heating with ammonia and Hoffman bromide reaction. So yeah, pretty like whatever all the more famous whatever things we do, questions are from that. And not only that, in that also I think they're more direct questions. So relatively, I would say, yeah, simpler paper.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. Hi everyone. So we are in the process of getting the shift 2 questions. So meanwhile, we just want to give you a glimpse of so how the morning paper came. So I'll be giving a brief of morning paper mathematics part. So like almost, I would say like uh, in this particular paper of morning, like there are around 8 to 10 questions which are going to be easy, which are straightforward. So that is what is most important thing in the maths papers. Like that is like usually like many times the faculties might have also been discussing. So selecting the questions is what is important. So if you have selected those 10 questions in the first round, so that is going to be very good attempt, I would say, in the first paper. So like if I say about the question split, there was a question of trigonometry, which was a straightforward question in the morning paper. And there was a question of quadratic equation, which was just by taking a simple expression x minus 1 as t, you will be able to solve it, right? And there's a question of complex numbers, so which was simply by taking cube roots of unity based question is what we have got one question in the morning shift. And as usual, like statistics, there was not that lengthy calculation also, it was another easy question which we have got in statistics in the morning shift, right? So when we go to geometry part, especially from 11th part, if I say, so there was a question on parabola, which was also again simply based on parametric coordinates of parabola. So that is also another easy question. So almost I would say from 11th itself, you have got around some 6 to 7 questions which falls in easy category, especially in the morning shift. At the same time, like when I take the 12th standard part, so in 12th standard part, there was a question based on, you have got a question based on, if I say about relations, number of reflexive and symmetric relation, which is based on straightforward formula 2 to the power n square minus n by 2. This was another easy category question. right? So we have got a question, very pretty much expected question, which was based on functions domain part, evaluating domain. So they are given two terms. One is in inverse trigonometry part, and other is something like in logarithms. You have to evaluate the domain for the part. Right. And there was a question which was based on limits. This is another easy question which I would say, which was of the form 10 into 1 power 10 into infinity, which you have got it, right? So this was something pretty much about the differential calculus. If you see the integral calculus part, so there was almost I have seen in the morning memory shift based questions. So in definite integration, I have seen two questions, and among that, I would say like one question is going to be pretty much easy, and other is also not that difficult. And areas, as usual, like you have got a question based on areas, bit calculative. So a question came uh, based on the area of ellipse, and they have given you two other simple curves, mod x minus 1 and mod x 1 minus mod x curve. Okay, so this also like bit, maybe this might go bit calculative, but it's also doable question, areas question, right? And differential equation question, what I have seen is it's a straightforward variable separable differential equation based question, right? And we have also seen like from vectors and 3D, there are around 3 questions. So this is something which were time consuming based questions in the morning shift. Okay, so if you still look into the things like split wise, so there are 6 easy questions over here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So as I told, like there are around 10 easy questions which you will be getting in the paper. So like we have just now started getting the questions. So we have got couple of questions in max. So we'll be also starting the second shift paper analysis right now. So meanwhile, I think Kalyan sir will be taking few of the questions right now. Go.
Okay, so from the questions I've seen so far in your second shift, I mean, obviously people do, I think, tend to remember the easy questions. So the questions so far felt easy, but let me start discussing the questions which I've already come across, right? And the maybe the numericals exact information might not be correct. So here we're going more with the concept on what the question is based on rather than the exact question itself, right? So one of the questions which was asked was an optics question, and it is a simple optics based question, and the question was you had a prism, an isosceles right angle prism having an angle of 45 degrees and 45 degrees. The question asked was what should be the angle of incidence so that the ray which emerges out of this will be emerging parallel to your surface, right? And the refractive index of this prism was given. I think the refractive index, I'm not sure what the value given was. We'll just go with mu. So it's a pretty standard question in ray optics, right? And I think the idea is pretty simple for this question. What you will be trying to calculate over here is if your ray should come out at an angle of 90 degrees, if your R value has to be equal to 90 degrees, then what should your angle here be equal to? So let me call this angle as E. Then what should R2 be equal to? So R2 will be equal to critical angle. And what will be your formula for critical angle? That will be equal to sine inverse of 1 by mu. Then we can make use of this idea and find out what R1 will be equal to. So we know the relation between R1 and R2. R1 plus R2 has to be equal to A. And since we now know R2 value, we can find out what R1 will be equal to. So R1 will be equal to A minus R2. A is equal to 90 degrees in this case. So it will be 90 minus sine inverse of 1 by mu. It will be A minus 90 minus sine inverse of 1 by mu, right? And once we know the R1 value, now we can make use of trigonometry to find out what the angle of incidence should be, which is what the question is based on. It's now a matter of using simple Snell's law. So we'll say 1 into sine I will be equal to mu into sine R1. And that's how we'll end up with the answer for this question, right? So the exact information for what the mu value is not there with me right now. I think mu value was, let's assume mu value is root 2. I think that is the data I heard. So if mu value is equal to root 2, that means this value will be equal to 45 degrees, which means R1 will also be equal to 45 degrees. And then that means now if you apply Snell's law, I think you'll end up with I to be equal to 90 degrees itself, if this is what the question is, right? Anyways, so that is the first question which you have heard, a pretty standard question in ray optics. I think looking at just the information being given, I think you can probably say that, you know, this is something which you would have definitely done as part of your preparation. Okay. The second question which I have come across was a question based on current electricity, right? Again, the exact circuit diagram is not known to me, but this question was based on maximum power transfer theorem. This question was based on maximum power transfer theorem. So from what I heard, maybe your circuit was not this straightforward. So hard to replicate the exact circuit again. But what we had was, you had a battery with an internal resistance R connected to an external resistance of capital R. I'm not sure if this was the actual circuit, because this looks really easy. But maybe imagine that you have some external circuit being given over here with a network of resistors. So what will be the idea we'll have to implement in this question? The idea we'll have to implement is, you'll have maximum power being transferred if small r is equal to capital R. If this is the question, then it's a very straightforward answer. I think we have done this as part of our derivations in classroom as well, right? So this is also something which is expected, not out of the ordinary. So I would say this is an easy question. If your circuit was slightly lengthy, then you just have to find the effective resistance, and then just say small r is equal to R effective, right? Okay. Then the other question which we had was a question based on friction. And in this case, you had a block inside a cylinder, and the cylinder is rotating with an angular velocity omega. I think you might have already recognized this question by now. If your coefficient of friction is mu over here, the question asked is, I think the question exactly is, what should be the angle of, what should be the angular velocity with which this should be rotating? What's the maximum angular velocity I can have such that this block will not be falling down, right? And this is also a very straightforward concept. We'll go with this idea that in order for this block to not fall down, the weight of this block has to be supported by friction. So we want the value of friction to be equal to mg, right? But here, who is supplying the normal force? In this case, normal force will depend on centrifugal force. So in other words, normal force will depend on what your centrifugal force will be in this case, and the normal force value will be equal to m omega squared r. So we want this value of friction to be possible. If this value of friction should be possible, then this value of friction has to be less than or equal to F max, which implies that mg should be less than or equal to mu into m omega squared r. So what should be your omega value then? So omega value from this will turn out to be, so omega squared will be greater than or equal to g by mu r, and we'll get omega to be greater than or equal to g by mu. So the minimum angular velocity required, will be greater than or equal to under root of g by mu r, right? So we know the concept for this question. This is what we heard from the recollection of concepts from our students. Maybe the question might be slightly different from what I mentioned, but overall this way the concepts on which the question was based on, right? Okay, so now I'll pass it over to Dhruv sir.
Okay, so I have three questions so far. One thing before we take on the questions is like similar kind of questions are repeating in the paper. So in paper 1 there was a question of percentage of calculating from POC calculating the percentage of sulfur, and in the second paper we have question for phosphorus. So similar concepts are repeating in these papers. So whoever is going to be writing the paper, I think it would be very wise to just go through these topics and understand which topics are being asked. And another thing is these some topics, like one question that is there, I don't have the question, but I was just seeing that the question is there of significant figures. So significant figures, POC, generally the topic people tend to avoid. So if you haven't looked at them, do look at them. Okay, with that let's take a look at questions. So first question that I have is, so you have 1 gram of organic compound producing 1.49 gram Mg P2O7. Determine percentage of P. So again, if you know, this is directly formula based question. So percentage of P will be equal to 2 into molar mass of P, because one molecule has 2 phosphorus, divided by molar mass of Mg2 P2O7 into mass of Mg2 P2O7 divided by mass of organic compound. So if you don't know the formula, you can also solve this question directly by percentage is equal to total mass of phosphorus divided by total mass of compound into 100. You can use that as well, but if you have done NCERT, you would know this formula, which is 2 into 31. Molar mass of Mg2 P2O7 would be 2 so 2 into mass of Mg2 P4O7 is 1.49. Mass of organic compound is 1 into 100. So this would be 31 into 149 divided by 111. So this would be your answer. This should be, I think, somewhere around about 46% basically. Yeah, so you just basically calculate this, whatever this calculation is, that will be your answer. So that's the first question. So this is from POC again, so first paper also had the same question where they asked percentage sulfur. Here they are asking percentage phosphorus. So if anybody who's thinking of skipping qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, purification, think again. Okay. Okay, next question I have is from periodic. So similar question again. In the first paper there was a question based on different trends of basic strength of oxide. Here they're asking about electronegativity and size. So we have two statements. That's another thing, by the way. First paper also had couple of questions which were assertion statement based, statement 1, statement 2. Second paper also have couple of questions which are statement based. So yeah, there is similarities in terms of topics of question as well as formatting of questions. Okay, so statement 1 is the correct order for radius is aluminium, magnesium, Mg2 plus and Al3 plus. And statement 2 is atomic size always depends on electronegativity. And the options are statement 1, statement 2 both correct, statement 2 both incorrect, statement 1 correct, statement 2 incorrect, statement 1 incorrect, statement 2 correct. Now again, pretty straightforward question. So statement 1, correct order of radius is, so the neutral atoms are going to be bigger in size than the cations. That part is correct. Amongst, if we check amongst the cations, these are isoelectronic species. So isoelectronic species, more positive charge on an ion, smaller the size will be, higher the defective, smaller size. So this is correct. This is wrong. As we go left to right, this is normal atomic size. As we go left to right, from sodium, magnesium, aluminium,
as we go, size decreases. So Mg will have bigger atomic radius than aluminium. So statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2, atomic size always depends upon electronegativity. So that is obviously again a wrong statement. Electronegativity is a relative property. Electronegativity is about between two atoms, how much pull an atom can exert, and it depends upon Z effective. So does size, but size also depends upon shell also, you know. So anyhow, electronegativity is a relative property, atomic size is an absolute property of an atom. So although they might have similar trend, but it's in no way directly correlated. Electronegativity is definitely directly correlated to Z effective, but yeah. So this option is also wrong. So a correct answer for this question would be option 2. So that's that. One more question that I have, which is rate of nucleophilic substitution in polar protic solvent. Okay, so you have CH2Br, OH, NH2, CH2Br, NO2, CH2Br, CH2Br, NO2. Okay. So in this question, so this is actually a good question. Probably as more difficult than any question that was there in the paper 1 of organic chemistry. So let's take a look at this. So protic solvent, that instantly means this reaction is going to be SN1. If the reaction is going to be SN1, then it will depend upon the stability of carbocation. You can form the carbocation, and whichever carbocation is more stable, that will give you faster SN1. So now you can check the stability. This is a plus M group. This will donate. This is also a plus M group. This will donate and stabilize NO2. This is a minus M group. It will withdraw. And here NO2 is present at meta position. So no mesomeric effect, only inductive effect, and it will apply minus I. Now out of OH and nitrogen, obviously nitrogen has stronger plus M in comparison to oxygen, has better donating ability. So answer will be B, A, P, B, A, D, C. That will be the order of stability of carbocation, hence that would be the rate of SN1 or rate of nucleophilic substitution. That would be your answer for this question. Okay. Now I'll hand over to Bharat sir.
Yeah. I have got right now along with me some 4 questions in mathematics part. Just check. Yeah. So question based on calculus. So question is something in this way: f of x is equal to x cube plus x square f dash of 1 plus 2x f double dash of 2 plus f triple dash of 3. So basically they are given you a function in this format where x belongs to real numbers and they are asked you to calculate the value of f dash of 5. Okay. So similar type of questions you guys must have solved it. So what we'll be doing in this pattern of questions. So first of all, I can very clearly see here now f of x is something like a cubic polynomial. So I'll be just assuming f dash of 1 is something like a, double derivative of 2 is b, and this is something like c. So if I'm able to find out what are a, b, c, then I'll get the function. Then you're trying to calculate f dash of 5, right? So if I write the function here now, it is in this way: x cube plus x square into a plus 2x into b, and this is something I'm writing it as c. So I'll try to calculate now what is f dash of x from here, which is 3x square plus 2ax plus 2b, then you have 0. Double derivative I'm trying to calculate it, so you're getting something like 6x plus 2a plus 2b, and f triple dash of x is something we are getting it as 6. So triple derivative is becoming like a constant function always. That means I can say here now triple dash of 3 is going to be 6. So I can able to figure out now c value is 6, and at the same time I'll be finding here what is f dash of 1 going to look like. So f dash of 1 from this equation I'll be getting it as something in the form 3 plus 2a plus 2b, and we have assumed f dash of 1 as a, so that means I'll be taking it as a. So with this I can frame one equation which is something in the form here now: a plus 2b plus 3 is 0. So this is one equation to me, right? And I'll go with the other thing is f double dash of 2. So f double dash of 2, if I look into it from this part, so f double dash of 2 we are getting it as 12 plus 2a plus 2b, and as per our assumption f double dash of 2 is here b, right? So this gives me pretty much another equation which is something in the form to me: 2a plus b plus 12 is equal to 0. So I'll try to figure out values of a and b from these two equations. Maybe I can multiply first equation with 2 and subtract. So this gives me now 3b 6 minus 12. So I'll be getting here minus 6 is equal to 0. So this gives me a value of b as 2. And if I substitute in any of the equation, if I'm going to substitute in the first equation, I'll be getting something like a is equal to minus 4 minus 2b plus 3, right? Yeah, minus 4 plus 3, which is minus 1. So these are the values of a and b we are getting it. Let me cross verify it once. Minus 2 plus 4. No, I think, let me check the calculation one more time. You're getting here a plus 2b plus 3 is 0, and here it gives me 2a plus b plus 12 is 0. 4b minus b, 3b. Yeah, so you're getting here 6 minus 12, which is minus 6. So this gives me b value as 2, and I'm substituting in the first equation. So 4 plus 3. Yeah, so something like you're getting value of a as minus 7. My bad. Okay, so minus 14 plus 14 is 0. Yeah, so we are getting the values of b and a over here. So that means I can say now here, to me f of x polynomial is something which is going to look like x cube plus ax square. Acha, let me see what is the requirement here. The requirement is simply directly f dash of 5. So I can try to figure out what is f dash of 5 from here, right? So f dash of 5 is something which is going to look like here now 75 plus 2a into 5, which is something like 10a plus 2b, and we are having pretty much the values of a and b, right? So this gives me something like here now minus 70 plus 4, something you're getting here like 9, right? Sure. Let me take you the next question. So another question is which is So this is actually going to be an easy category question, straightforward question, like many such type of questions you might have solved it in your papers, PYQ based papers also. Yeah. So another question what I've got right now here is, this seems to be very easy question right now. So this is something like a line alpha x plus 2y minus 4 is equal to 0. This is a line and they're trying to say it is tangent to ellipse. This is tangent to. It is tangent to ellipse. 3x square plus 4y square is equal to 1. Yeah. So it is tangent to the ellipse 3x square plus 4y square is equal to 1. And they are asking to figure out here what is the value of alpha. Okay, so standard, if I see condition of tangents is what we will apply here. So if I take the ellipse equation to me, now ellipse equation is something in the form x square. So like if I write the condition here, if I say y is equal to mx plus c, if a straight line y is equal to mx plus c, if this is something like tangent to x square by a square plus y square by b square is equal to 1. Okay, the condition of tangents says that you can just substitute here and apply discriminant is equal to 0. So that gives you now c square is equal to something like a square m square plus b square. So based on straightforward this formula, I can see this question is there. So I write the equation first of all as x square by 1 by 3 plus y square by 1 by 4 is equal to 1. And the equation of straight line is also I'll be writing it as y is equal to minus alpha by 2x plus 4 by 2 is 2. So y is equal to mx plus c. So I write c square. So c square is something like here now 2 square is equal to a square. So a square is to alpha square by 4 times m square, which is 1 by 3 plus b square is again here to you like 1 by 4. So this gives me now 4 minus 1 by 4, which is 15 by 4 is alpha square by 12. So this gives you alpha square is equal to 15 3 is 45. So they're asking the value of alpha, so which should be something like plus or minus root 45. Okay. Right. Yeah. So the other question what I've got right now here is, I have got two questions based on parabola. So I'm not sure whether both are there in the paper or is it like only one question was there. We need to figure it out. But one question which seems to be like pretty straightforward here. So the other question what which I got from parabola is, there's a parabola y square equal to 16x and they are trying to say 16 comma 16 is a point on the parabola. And there is a point P alpha comma beta which divides this focal chord internally in the ratio. Yeah, so they are trying to say basically one end of focal chord. So we do have focus here. So which is a comma 0, which is 4 comma 0. So one end of focal chord they are given to us 16 comma 16. Okay, so now this is something like P PSP prime. So we already know one property. Achha, let me finish the question first. So one end of focal chord is given to us 16 comma 16 and they are trying to say, let me not take it as P because already in the question they are trying to mention a point P is here. So one end of focal chord is given to us 16 comma 16. Apart from this, they are trying to say alpha comma beta is a point which divides this focal chord in the ratio of 5:2. Okay, so there's a point P which divides this focal chord. If I take it as AB, so there is something which is dividing in the form of PA by PB. They are given to us 5/2. Okay, so the given question data is this: y square is equal to 16x is a parabola, and ASB is the focal chord. This is the ratio in which point P divides this focal chord, and there if point P coordinates are given as something like here alpha comma beta. Now they are asking to find the value of alpha plus beta. Okay, so I have got the question as minimum value of alpha plus beta, but it can't be minimum value here because since I know I already know here one end of focal chord is this, you can easily calculate other end of focal chord because in parabola you do have a property. We do have a property in parabola, like if T1 T2 are end points of focal chord. If I know end points of focal chord, so if T1 T2 are end points of focal chord, then we'll be having product of this parameters is equal to -1. Wait. So I'll just try to calculate the parameter over here first of all. So it is 4ax. So a value is 4. So this point, if I write it as 4t square, comma 8t. So to me here now, for the first point A, I'm getting a parameter as 2. I'll calculate parameter for second point B here. The point B is, parameter is something which is going to be in the form to, here, minus 1 by t1, which is minus 1 by 2. Right? So I can calculate now point B coordinates, which is a t2 square, which is going to be 4 times of t2 square. Yeah, it is minus 1 by 2. Yeah, 4 times of t2 square, which is going to be 1 by 4, comma 2at, which is going to be 2 into 4 into t is again another minus 1. That means I'm getting point B coordinate as 1 comma minus 4. So since these 2 points are fixed now, if I say point B is dividing this in the ratio of 5:2, so you will get a fixed value for that. So that's the reason I think it should not be minimum value. So it can be, they will be asking you to calculate the value of A plus B. So now I can easily find out the value of A plus B, because I can say point B is something here. If I apply section formula, it is going to be 2A plus 5B by 7, right? So point A coordinates also, point B coordinates also. With that I can calculate the value of alpha plus beta, right? So if I go into the calculation wise, you'll be having here 32 plus 5, which is 37 by 7, and 32 minus 20, which is 12 by 7. So alpha plus beta is something like here 49 divided by 7, which should be something like 7, right? So I'll come back with some more questions. Meanwhile, Kalyan sir will be taking you with some more questions of physics right now. Yeah.
Okay, so now I've come across some other questions as well, and I've also taken feedback from some students regarding how your paper has been, and the general consensus has been that the paper has been really easy. Physics has been really easy, at least this time around. And from the questions which I can see, that is what I feel should be the level as well, right? Anyways, so let me start off with the questions which I already have with me. So one question was based on significant figures, and a direct question based on significant figures. The question is, you have 3 physical quantities, and actually there are 3 length measurements, and the length measurements are given as 5.01 meters, 153.2 meters, and 0.123 meters, right? So the question asked is, when we add up all these 3 physical quantities, what would be your answer? I mean, and here the idea was, fine, we can do the addition and we can get what the answer will be equal to, but the point is we need to express this answer in terms of only 1 decimal point, right? So if you do the calculation, what will this value turn out to be? 153.2 plus 5.01 will be 158.21, and then 158.21 plus 0.123 will be equal to 158.333, right? But what is your rule for addition when we talk about significant figures? The rule for addition must be that your answer must have the least number of decimal points among all the 3 quantities being given. So your least number of decimal point is 1 over here. So the answer here will be equal to just 158.3 meters, right? So a very direct question, and I think something which a lot of them would have scored marks on, right? Okay. Then the next question I have with me is a question based on atoms. And the question over here is that ground state energy of an electron is given as epsilon naught, some constant. The ground state energy of electron is given as some epsilon naught, as some constant. And the energy of an electron, which is not in ground state, which is in some state, is being mentioned as minus epsilon naught by 4 electron volt. So what we need to calculate is, we need to calculate what will be the value of 2 pi L by H, where L over here indicates angular momentum of electron. Right? Okay. So we are aware of the expression for what will be the energy of an electron in the nth orbit. The energy of an electron in the nth orbit is given by the formula, and this is given as ground state energy of hydrogen atom only, just to be clear. So if you're talking about hydrogen atom, the energy level of an electron in the hydrogen atom is given by the expression minus 13.6 electron volt into z squared by, I mean, z value will be 1 over here, minus 13.6 electron volt into 1 by n squared. So this value, and now if you're talking about ground state, your n value will be equal to 1. So epsilon naught over here roughly corresponds to minus 13.6 electron volt, right? So the energy of an electron is given as minus epsilon naught by 4 electron volt. So as you can see, these are your constant terms over here. The value which can vary with n is the n squared term. So that means from this we can directly relate that n squared has to be equal to 4. So n has to be equal to 2, which means you're talking about an electron which is present in the second orbit. And since this electron is present in the second orbit, from Bohr's quantization rule, we are aware that L value has to be equal to, that is MVR should be equal to NH by 2 pi. So your L value in this case will be equal to 2 into H by 2 pi, right? So the question asked is what's the value of 2 pi L by H? So it's directly substituting your L value in this case, we'll get 2 pi by H into 2H by 2 pi. So we'll get our answer to be equal to 2. We'll get our answer to be equal to 2. So this also feels like a pretty straightforward question. Okay. And then the next question which we got was from potentiometer, current electricity concept. Right, so potentiometer is a concept which generally most of you tend to ignore, and I think from current electricity it's very important that since you're writing an engineering based examination, people tend to ask a lot of questions based on applications, right? So potentiometer, galvanometer, ammeter are questions you can definitely expect, and that has proved to be the case here as well. So a potentiometer setup is given. You have a potentiometer wire AB, and then you have your resistors 6 ohms and 4 ohm. And then you have your galvanometer with your movable contact and a battery. So if you are aware of the concept of potentiometer, this should be a very straightforward question. The question is what should be your distance AP, given the length of this wire I think is given as 1 meter itself. I'm assuming that to be the value. The question asked is what should be your length AP, so that there'll be no deflection in your galvanometer, right? So since the concept here is based on a Wheatstone bridge, I think this is more of a, sorry, I'll say this is more of a meter bridge question than if I'm framing the question this way. So we know that there'll be no deflection in the galvanometer if this is a balanced Wheatstone bridge. And if it's a balanced Wheatstone bridge, then I know that your resistance is proportional to the length. So assuming this length to be x, assuming this length to be 100 minus x, if there is no deflection in the galvanometer, we must have a balanced Wheatstone bridge. And our condition for a balanced Wheatstone bridge is R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R4. So writing that relation, I can say 6 by 4 should be equal to x divided by 100 minus x. And now solving this equation, we'll get 3 by 2 is equal to x divided by 100 minus x. So 300 minus 3x is equal to 2x. So we'll get 300 to be equal to 5x. And you'll get a value of x to be equal to 60 centimeters, right? So the question asked was find this length x. So this length x is pretty clear right now, that would be equal to 60 centimeters, right? So once again, a reminder that, questions do get asked on on instruments based on current electricity. That's why most of the questions tend to be focused on generally on current electricity. So a reminder for you to revise the concept. Okay. Then the next question which I have is based on electrostatics. To be precise, it's based on potential concept. And the question over here is you have two spheres of mass m, charge q and radius r. Another identical sphere of same mass, same charge and same radius. And these two spheres are separated by a distance of 4r. The question asked is what minimum velocity should these spheres be given? What minimum velocity must be given to these spheres so that they are able to touch each other? So what's the minimum value of velocity such that these spheres touch each other? So nothing out of the ordinary. I think one of your most standard questions in electrostatics, the idea we'll be making use of in this case is that these spheres are moving under the influence of forces which they exert on each other, right? So that is an electrostatic force, and we know that electrostatic force is a conservative force, and whenever you have objects moving only under the influence of conservative force, mechanical energy tends to be conserved. So the idea we'll have to make use of in this case is initial kinetic energy plus initial potential energy is equal to final kinetic energy plus final potential energy. We need to find out what the initial values of speed is. So initial kinetic energy is the term which we need to calculate over here. So plugging in the terms, so you'll get half mu squared plus half mu squared. And your initial potential energy between these two spheres will be equal to kq squared by 4r. And that will now be equal to final kinetic energy. So we need the minimum velocity which has to be given such that these spheres are able to touch each other. So we'll just say that these spheres are, touching each other with minimum kinetic energy possible, which is 0. And what will be your expression for minimum potential energy? So at the instant these two spheres are touching each other, the distance between their centers will become equal to 2r. So this expression become equal to kq squared divided by 2r. So from this we'll get mu squared is equal to kq squared by 2r minus kq squared by 4r, which is equal to kq squared by 2r. So what will your speed value be equal to? We get the velocity expression to be equal to kq squared by 2mr whole under root. Right? So I would say once again a straightforward question. And moving on. So noticing about the questions as well, I think there is no chapter on which I can see more amount of questions have been given. I think I've noticed 2 questions on current electricity so far, but otherwise your portion is pretty well balanced in these papers. It seems like they're touching a question from each topic as such. They're picking up questions from each topic. Okay, the next question asked is from KTG. And this is a very, very straightforward question. Given that VRMS, so he's asking when will the RMS velocity of oxygen at 47 degrees Celsius be equal to RMS velocity of hydrogen? At what temperature? At what temperature will the RMS velocity of oxygen be equal to the RMS velocity of hydrogen, right? So we are aware of the formula for RMS velocity, and that formula is under root of 3 RT by M. So making use of that expression, we get under root of 3 R, converting temperature to Kelvin. So 47 degrees Celsius will be equal to 320 Kelvin. So 3R into 320 divided by molecular mass of hydrogen, which is 32 grams, but we need not worry about the SI units over here. And that will be equal to under root of 3R of the temperature of hydrogen divided by the molecular mass of hydrogen, which is 2. So 3R gets cancelled. We can even cancel out the square root. So we get 10 is equal to T by 2. So that means what is the temperature at which these velocities will be equal? The temperature at which these velocities will be equal, 10 will be equal to T by 2. So we'll get T to be equal to 20 Kelvin. Will be temperature to be equal to 20 Kelvin. And if he's asking in degrees Celsius, your answer then will be equal to minus 253 degrees Celsius, right? So a very, very easy question asked on KTG, right? Okay, then I have one more question based on oscillation, and if your theory of oscillation is pretty solid, then you wouldn't have to do any derivation. You would directly end up with the answer itself, right? And that is, you have a particle undergoing simple harmonic motion. You have a particle undergoing simple harmonic motion, and the angular velocity of its kinetic energy, the angular frequency of its kinetic energy is given as 176 radians per second. Right, so all we have to understand is what does this statement actually mean, angular frequency of its kinetic energy. If you're familiar, so here it's not related to oscillation of kinetic energy as such. That is something which doesn't make sense at all. But what we are talking about over here is we're talking about the values of kinetic energy which are repeating right now, right? So it's found that the values of kinetic energy repeat at an angular frequency of 176 radians per second. So from this we are supposed to calculate what the frequency of the actual SHM is equal to, right? I think we are supposed to calculate the angular frequency of SHM itself. Okay, so if you're familiar with this concept, then we know that the kinetic energy and potential energy of SHM, the kinetic energy and potential energy of SHM will be oscillating at twice the frequency of SHM itself. So this is your advantage of being very up to date with the topics concerned with this, right? And how do we derive this? We know the expression for kinetic energy. You're assuming velocity as a function of time to be equal to a omega cos of omega t plus phi. We get kinetic energy to be equal to half mv squared, and that expression will be equal to half m omega squared a squared of cos squared of omega t plus phi. So that means I can write this cos squared theta as 1 plus cos 2 theta by 2. So this will become equal to 1 plus cos of twice of omega t plus phi by 2, right? And just looking at this expression, we can see that the angular frequency of kinetic energy will be equal to 2 omega, whereas the angular frequency of your normal SHM, whose x of t was equal to a sine of omega t plus phi, is just omega. So that is where we get this derivation. And for people who are familiar with this, they can directly go with this relation itself, right? So now I know that the omega of your kinetic energy is given as 176 radians per second, which implies your frequency, your angular frequency of SHM. Your angular frequency of SHM then would just be half of it. So then we'll get the angular frequency of SHM just to be equal to 88 radians per second, right? So the questions which I've noticed so far are pretty much easy, nothing out of the ordinary. You just have to keep your basics strong and you have to be conceptually strong as well. Revising through PYQs, your basic plan would be helping you a lot in attempting these questions as well, right? Okay, so that's about all the questions I have for now. I think I'll pass it on to Dhruv, sir.
Okay, so next question I have is again following the pattern of same first paper. There's half organic, half physical, and the question is following so the first half is from optical isomerism. Really all you have to look for is, okay, let me first write this. Okay, so in this question, as you can see, all you have to find in first part, all you have to do is find a chiral center. This one doesn't have any, this one doesn't have any, this one has this chiral center, and there is no chiral center present in this. So this is the molecule which is going to be optically active. All you have to look for is one that the compound which has one carbon atom with 4 different groups. Here this carbon has one hydrogen, one chlorine, one methyl, and one ethyl. So this is the compound out of these given compounds which is going to be optically active. Now for this compound we have to find percentage of carbon. So what is going to be the molecular formula of this compound? This is a 4 carbon saturated molecule, so it should be C4H9Cl. This is going to be the molecular formula. So percentage of carbon in this will be what? Mass of carbon divided by mass of compound into 100. So mass of carbon will be 12 into 4. There are 4 carbons in one molecule. This will be 12 into 4 plus 9 into 1 plus 35.5 into 100. So percentage of carbon will be 48 upon 48 plus 9 plus 35.5. 9 8 17, 522 to 92.5. So you can solve this, and this will give you your percentage of carbon. So again, although they have mixed physical and organic in this, both parts are individually pretty straightforward parts. Yeah, anybody can identify a chiral carbon, and then all you have to do is find the percentage. Next question that we have is we have a nitrobenzene which is followed through. So again, this is probably a question which is on the difficult side, or you can say slightly lengthier question in comparison to the other question, not so direct, and you need to know different parts, different reactions for this. Okay. So this compound is sent through all this, and then finally we have to tell you number of bromine atoms in, so this is product P, number of bromine atoms in product P. So that is the question. Okay. So let's see. So first we have NO2, nitrobenzene. So this has minus M group. Now, when you will do bromination on that, what will you get? You will get bromine. Where will that bromine come? Because you have a meta directing group, that bromine will come on meta position. Minus M group are meta directing groups, and the incoming electrophile will come attack at meta position. Now SNHCl, what is that? This is a reducing agent. Reduction will happen. Nitrobenzene will get converted into aniline. Now, because there is acidic medium, you will have this as NH3, and when you will do neutralization, pH neutralization, that will give you aniline NH2 group back. Now, react this with bromine water. Aniline, being a strongly activating group, activates all three positions. So you will get bromine at all ortho and para positions available, being a strongly activating as well as ortho para directing groups. Okay, next is NaNO2 plus HCl, which is reaction with nitrous acid. Reaction with nitrous acid will convert the given compound so it will convert the aniline, the NH2 part, into diazonium. And finally, the last step, you react with CuBr. You know this reaction. What will happen? You will get bromine here. As you can see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the total number of bromine in the final compound is 5. So although this is a quite lengthy question, but similar reactions and standard reactions are there, you know, pretty much. But yeah, in comparison to the other questions that are there, surely this is a lengthier and a more difficult question. Yeah. Okay. This by the way, this sequential thing is also coming again and again. In the first paper also there were two questions of organic chemistry. The first, the one question which had mole concept in that as well, which had asked a percentage of nitrogen. In that we had 4 steps. So this sequential thing of sequential reactions in organic compound questions is a pattern that was there in the first one and pattern there in the second one. Okay. Next question that I have is, some species are given Ni2 plus, Fe2 plus, Co2 plus, vanadium 3 plus, and titanium 3 plus, titanium 2 plus. How many species has magnetic moment less than 3 Bohr magneton? How many species have less than 3 Bohr magneton? Okay. Okay. So okay. So titanium is 22, 3d2, 4s2, titanium 2 plus will be 3d2. So 3d2 number of unpaired electron is 2 for this. Number of unpaired electron is 2. So magnetic moment will be root Nn plus 2 root 8, which will be roughly 2.83 Bohr magneton. So this value is less than 3. Next is vanadium. Vanadium is 23. So vanadium would be 3d3, 4s2, and vanadium 3 plus will be 3d2. So again 3d2 same. So this will also have the same magnetic moment, which is 2.83. So next is Fe. Fe is 26. This will be Fe will be 3d6 4s2. Fe 2 plus will be 3d6 and 3d6 will be so here n is equal to 4. So magnetic moment will be root of 4 plus 2. So root 24. This will be approximately near to 5, more than definitely more than 3. So this will not be the answer. Next is cobalt 2 plus. So first is cobalt. Cobalt is 27. So that will be 3d7 4s2. Now we have plus 2 oxidation state. So this will go. We have 3d7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So how many unpaired electron? 3. So if we have 3 unpaired electron, magnetic moment will be root 3, 3 plus 2. So root of 15, which will definitely be greater than 3. So cobalt 2 plus is also not the answer. So nickel is 28, 3d8 4s2. Nickel 2 plus will be 3d8, and again because this is 3d8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and number of unpaired electron is 2. If the number of unpaired electron is 2, then again same, the value of magnetic moment will be 2.83. So this will also be your answer. So out of the ones that are given to us, this will have our magnetic moment value less than 3. This will have a magnetic moment value less than 3, and this will have a magnetic moment value less than 3. So again, slightly time taking question, but all you have to do is write the electronic configuration, take out the electrons for the oxidation state, and just directly use the magnetic moment formula and find the answer. Okay. Okay. Next question we have is okay. Next one is a pretty stock standard question if you have ever solved questions from atomic structure. So again, on the lines of, there was one question of atomic structure, although it was a theoretical question in statement 1 and 2 of hydrogen spectrum and about Lyman series and Balmer series, and there is a question here now which is a numerical, which is about Paschen and Balmer series. So the question is, so if you have ever solved any questions from atomic structure from hydrogen spectrum, this type of question you must have solved. So okay, let's do this. So they're talking about third line of Paschen series. So for Paschen series, it will start from 3 and third series will be 3 to 4, second will be 3 to 5 and third will be 3 to 6. So basically what we are talking about is 3 to 6. What will be the, so this is the direct Rydberg form constant, the Rydberg formula you can apply. So this will be 1 upon lambda, let's call this P. This will be 1 upon 3 square minus 1 upon 6 square. Yeah. Now for Balmer series, so here we are talking about second line. So Lyman, this is starts from 2. So 2 to 3 will be the first line and 2 to 4 will be the second line. So the jump that we are talking about is 2 to 4. So if I say 1 upon lambda B, Z I have not taken because in the question I have the atom is not given, so I'm assuming the atom is same in both cases. So Z will get cancelled. If you want to write it, you can write it. So this will be RH Z square 1 upon 2 square minus 1 upon 4 square. Okay. So now if you take this ratio, you have to take the ratio of lambda Paschen to Balmer series. So let's call this equation 2. Let's call this equation 1. So we have to take Paschen to Balmer. So then we have to do 1 divided by 2. So 1 will be 1 upon, you have to do 2 divided by 1. This will become 1 upon lambda B upon 1 upon lambda P. This is RH Z square 1 upon 2 square minus 1 upon 4 square. RH Z square 1 upon 3 square minus 1 upon 6 square. So this will get cancelled. This will become lambda P upon lambda B, and this will be equal to, you can take out 2 common from here. So 4 common from there, this will become 1 by 4, 1 minus 1 by 2 square. You can similarly, you can take out 1 by 3 square common from here. This will become 1 by 2 square. So this part will get cancelled, and this Paschen to Balmer, this will become 9 by 4. Okay. So again, this is a very stock standard question that anybody would have solved. from hydrogen spectrum. Again, one of the topics from which question is asked constantly, and we solve these questions in classroom all the time. Okay. Next question is again going back to inorganic chemistry. The question is from D and F block compounds. So we have K2Cr2O7 is heated with KCl in presence of H2SO4. So this is the reaction. I think people who will know already know the answer. All we have to do is find the correct match of product with their oxidation state. Okay, and the options are